Devyati, shall we?
So have you sent this, Davidson?
I'll try. I'm trying to locate in my phone. Otherwise, I have to get it from.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
I think we should start now.
Yeah. Divya, shall we start? Mr. Ambassador
Yeah, we
is
can start
asking.
now.
Mm-hmm.
We can start now.
I think you can start. People will join.
Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm starting.
Mr. Patil has joined. Yeah, he's joined now. I was just calling him. Let Divya, please start now.
A very good morning to everyone present here. Today we meet here for the Indian Mongolian Cool webinar, and today we have the ambassador to Mongolia from in India as a chief guest, and we are having President of CPS India and Alok Patisar and all the dignitaries present right now in the meeting. So I will request the ambassador to of Mongolia to just give the inaugural speech.
Okay. Thank you, Devyati.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning to all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Good.
Hello.
I'm excited to see you all. मुझे बहुत प्रसन्नता होती है आप लोगों को देख के। अभी तक मुझे ऐसे मौका मिला, मौका देने पर आप लोगों को सब बहुत हार्दिक धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ। I'm glad to see you all because we have been waiting for this opportunity for months and years. So I'm excited to have this opportunity. And I would also like to convey the warm regards and greetings of Mr. London, who is a Minister for Mines and Heavy Industry of Mongolia. He wishes all the best and success to our webinar. I'm not coal expert, but I'm a hard believer of trade, in particular mineral resources, including coking coal is a promising area where we can work in a mutually advantageous and beneficial manner. So commercial relations is very important, without which we cannot solve many things. So once united, we can become more powerful and beneficial to one another. You all know that our two countries enjoy excellent political relations, which is based on age-long spiritual, cultural, and historic ties. Recently, we have marked 65th anniversary of our diplomatic relations just last month, and at high level, both countries expressed their determination to further reinvigorate of these relations. So I'm in the utmost belief that commercial ties, physical exchange would be. Mongolia had visited India 2019 September, and previously Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid state visit to Mongolia in 2015. These visits helped us to bring our relations up to a new height. And some of you also well aware that Dharmendra Pradhanji, Union Minister for Petroleum, Natural Gas and Steel, along with his coal experts from sales, Tata Power, Jindals and other companies, had also visited Mongolia, met with our coal experts and got acquainted with our companies. Moreover, Dharmendra Pradhanji also formally expressed interest to long-term basis. We also do find it quite encouraging, and government of Mongolia also took up several series of steps, including setting up cabinet level working group. So we in the embassy are working to arrange 3-phase shipment of samples of coking coal, and met with our friends in the States and had a discussion with Indian government ministries. All fortunately are very much positive. So I'm also pleased to continue these discussions. The captains of Indian industries, including coal sector and Mongolian National Association of Coal, would play an important role in this regard. Your viewpoints, your expertise keep moving ahead in this initiative. Recently, my government also made a trial shipment of coal to seashore, and it indicates also if we exert efforts, there could be also tangible outcomes in terms of logistics, which I briefly mentioned with Sajdeva ji before our discussion. And moreover, the Indian laboratories also found our quality of coal, coking coal, good in terms of content, in terms of ash content and energy, power, etc. So we need to improve our washing capacities, and we need to solve our logistics. And government of India also at the same time expressed interest to purchase coking coal on long term, on stable basis. So we in the embassy are very much eager to matchmaking between you Indian captains of industries and Mongolian National Coal Associations to promote useful discussions and sort out the logistics and technological issues. In the months, we would continue these discussions at political level, and with Ministry of Steel, we had also meeting to set up joint working group to keep moving our discussions in terms of technology, in terms of logistics, and sales components. So, to Mongolian calendars, I mean, hope that our discussions, our webinars, and your practical viewpoints and expertise would be great importance and help to facilitate our efforts on both sides. Because Mongolia is exporting coking coal in large quantity, which might not be large in your concept, but in our concepts, it's good. Last year, some 30 million metric ton we exported, and the substantive part of it is coking coal. And not only coking coal, we are also eager to diversify this destination of our exports to India. And PNG ministry and steel ministry and major companies in India are unanimous. They are willing to work on this direction. So I'm thankful to Mr. Joljargal and Sajdevaji, all other colleagues and friends, initiating this very useful discussion. I hope it would be not last one, but first one, so that we could accomplish what we both sides eager to reach. Thank you very much, Sajdevaji.
Divya, you're mute.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have Shri Alok Pati, sir, IAS retired, former co-secretary and chairman, Coal Producers Society of India, and he will give the opening remark from India. Sir, please start.
Morning, everybody. I think it's afternoon, maybe,
No, sir.
Mongolia. At the outset, I would like to compliment His Excellency, the Ambassador of Mongolia in India, for a very brief and very interesting and rather opening remarks. Let me put on record that our association with the Mongolian Coal Association goes back to 2019, when we signed an MOU during the ICPC, the International Coal Preparation Congress, in November 2019. And we wanted to extend a welcome to all the team. Rather, we wanted to welcome a team from Mongolia. Unfortunately, this COVID came in the way and things got a little dismantled. With these opening remarks, I would first welcome my friends from Mongolia who are joining this webinar. Mr. Sajdev, who is the president of CPSI, and our Indian friends who would be presenting along with the Mongolian delegates who have been chosen to give their presentations on the Mongolian side. I think the Honorable Ambassador has very correctly raised two very pertinent issues in his speech. One is obviously, and I think the most important of it all, is the question of logistics. Mongolia is positioned in such a place that this is a major problem of movement out of the country. It's landlocked and it requires extensive collaborations with many countries having ports to be able to export a big amount of mineral That was discussed briefly even when the delegation was here in November 2019. But I think the interactions with the various ministries, as the Honorable Ambassador pointed out, with the Ministry of Steel, the PNG people, I do not know whether there has been an interaction with the Coal Ministry, but probably not, because the main exporting bodies are the users. And I fully appreciate that discussion with bodies like the Steel Ministry or for that reason PNG are where things will move forward. I look forward really to this kind of interaction. We fully appreciate the fact that there is adequate coking coal available in Mongolia, and that India is a large importer of coking coal. While there are reserves of coking coal in the country, they are not adequately mined, and they are not adequate perhaps to meet the future demand in the production of steel. We therefore look forward to importing a good quantity of coking coal. And since Mongolia is a country which is abundantly endowed with a good amount of coking coal, it is but natural to have an association or a collaboration to exploit that and to use that platform for future business and commerce. I think from our side, as far as India is concerned, a few words. The coal sector has been undergoing some kind of a reform. If you go back to 2010, maybe about 12 years ago, the thrust was on a lot of high production of thermal coal, because the demand was basically to have more energy. Over the period when environment issues were raised, we dipped somehow in the production, and today of course we are raising production, but we do look forward to a tapering off maybe after another 2 decades or so. But what has happened recently in the sector is that the entire mining of coal, which was totally under the government companies, Coal India, with the exception of 1 or 2 very small private sector, the sector has been open for commercial mining, and that is a major policy change, and we hope that will set the market mechanisms in India, which will try and have some relations with the international market. Otherwise, a monopolistic Coal India was not pricing coal, which was really a market-driven pricing. But today, I think with the opening of the sector, we would probably move into that. However, with the various other and alternate uses of coal, we do feel that coal quality is a very important issue, and that washing of coal is perhaps a very important part of maintaining quality. We have a number of presenters who will be talking of various issues, of various points that are relevant to India. We are waiting to hear from my Mongolian friends as to what they have to say, and what is the current status of the industry in Mongolia, so that we can have an understanding on both sides to take this collaboration even further. At the end, I would say we want to convey, and we want to extend an invitation to the Mongolian Coal Association to visit India as and when the opportune time is there. I would say that we are waiting for travel to be facilitated and improved in this era of the COVID pandemic. But I say that once the situation improves, please do try and visit us, we would further take this collaboration further. With these few words, I would like to once again welcome everybody to this webinar, and I hand this mic back over to Divya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words. Now I would like to invite Mr. G. Zolzargal, CEO of Mongolian Coal Association, for his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Divya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Alok Preti. Thank you, Ambassador. Yes, we are glad to be invited, and we also would like to invite Indian Coal Society to Mongolia, but because of COVID, we lost this chance. Anyway, we will, of course, continue doing this. Now I will ask your attention to presentation. Moment. Yes. I hope you see my presentation.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So let me first quickly introduce Mongolian Coal Association. We established in 1998. It is NGO, non-government organization. Our members are state-owned coal mines which supply brown coal to power plants of Mongolia, national power plants. And also the main coking coal exporting companies are our members. Among them, there are private companies, state-owned large enterprises, and also foreign invested companies. So this is NGO established by various coal companies, and our main task is to shape the common view in coal sector. Any question about Mongolian coal sector or technology or business cooperation, whatever, please feel free to contact to us through this email, contact@m, stands for Mongolia, mcoal.mn. And now, Divya, I would like to ask, continue my presentation, make presentation, Mr. Anar, who is head of division from Mongolian Authority of Mineral and Petroleum. And Divya, please keep in mind to have control, monitor on time.
Sure,
So
sir.
I would like to ask Mr. Anar. Is Anar here?
I'm checking. He was present here. Right now.
Okay, I will share presentation. Okay, can everyone see? Divya?
Yeah, presentation visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Anar seems to be went out, so I make his presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what is in coal sector now in Mongolia? We will cover these points, how mining sector and coal sector impacts on the economy of Mongolia, and licensed companies, coal reserves. Excuse me. Divya, can you please mute the other people?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please. Okay, and then coal reserves, quality of coal, coal production, sales and export, domestic coal consumption, coal price, and then some main products of heavy industry, which might be interesting for the audience. Mining sector has the biggest impact on the economy in Mongolia. 18.4% of GDP is from mining industry, which is mainly consisted of coal mining and copper mining. And then after coal and copper, we have other products like gold, fluorspar, and others. So these are the data of 2020. In the gross industrial product, we have 66% from mining industry, and export income, 92% consists of mining industry. This 92% is roughly half is from coal and another half is from copper. 73% of foreign direct investment goes to mining industry, and in the mining industry, 91% of workforce represents as men, and 19% is female. Here we have general statistics of mining companies. We have 179 enterprises in mining industry and 307 licenses for exploration and for mining operation. All these operation license covers only 0.5% of the country's territory. The below figure is showing the number of mining licenses in each provinces of Mongolia. Coal resources of Mongolia, in general, it is estimated at 173 billion tons of geological resources, 173 billion tons. And then proven reserves of those 173 billion is 33 billion tons. And now here you can see the split by provinces of the proven reserves of coal. In central parts of Mongolia, we have roughly 8 billion tons of coal. Sorry, this is written in GMT. In South Gobi province, 7 billion. In Central and East province, 3.7. And in this graph, you can see the distribution of proven coal reserves by provinces. Later, you can have this presentation by email. And basically, in East and Central parts of Mongolia, we have brown coal, lignite, with roughly 3,000 kilocalorie per kilogram heat value, and then bituminous coal and coking coal are located in west, in South Gobi, and in north of the Mongolia. Anthracene, there are some anthracene deposits mostly in Gobi desert region, in South Gobi and East Gobi. Right. Out of 33 billion tons of coal reserves, roughly less than 1 billion ton is anthracene, and 13 billion tons of bituminous coal, and 21 billion tons of brown coal. In last 10 years, like 353 million tons of coal was mined and consumed for steam, electricity, and industry and domestic consumption, and exported also. Top minute, okay. So this graph shows mining, total sales of coal and export of coal. So you can see that total production of coal in Mongolia is changed between 43 million tons to 57 million tons per year, and the export is for last 4 years 31 million to 36.8 million tons. In this year, last year, 2020, coal export reduced by 15% because of COVID-19. And this graph shows domestic consumption of coal, which is slightly below 10 million tons per year. So 10 million tons of coal is used in Mongolia for mainly for energy generation, electricity and steam. Price of coal based on average data is shown here. Worst coking coal, which is exported mostly to China, and raw coking coal, weak coking coal, and thermal coking coal. These data are provided from Authority of Mineral and Petroleum Authority of Mongolia. This data, I guess it's from last year. I have new one. I will give you later. The coal for domestic consumption for heat-only boilers is $5 to $15 US. This is mostly lignite, brown coal. For enterprise industrial use, same price of about $5 to $15 per ton, and household use 4 to 12 tons. Main heavy industry products are shown here. Cathode copper is produced by electrolytic method, and then some metal works in Mongolia. Steel bars, 20,000 tons per year only, and smaller steam item manufacturing and electric cable. In the period of 2020 to 2024, government of Mongolia put a target in action plan to build non-ferrous industry in Darkhang, Orkhang, and Dorngo province, 3 provinces, and in each province they want to establish coke making and steel making plants. And these 3 projects are in the high priority by government, which might be quite interesting. One of those projects will be presented here later. So these are the non-ferrous projects and some iron ore processing plants locations. And the 3 projects I mentioned about the non-ferrous metal iron smelter is here. Erdenet is the 2nd largest city in Mongolia, and they want to produce cast iron 100,000 ton, reduced iron 100,000 ton, steel items 200,000, steel bars 160,000 tons. In Darkhang, where we have the old iron smelting factory, now they want to increase capacity and produce reduced iron, steel bars, and steel ball for mills, for mineral process plants. And then 3rd project is in Gobi. It is owned by state-owned company and joint venture with a private company. They also want to produce cast iron, reduced iron, steel bars. In total, cast iron capacity is 1.5 million tons per year. Okay, so thank you for attention, and I made this quick presentation on behalf of Mr. Anar, who is from Mineral Resources and Petroleum Authority of Mongolia. Thank you, and later we will discuss about the questions.
Thank you, sir, for giving us insight about Mongolian coal scenario. Now we would like to have Mr. M. Bazargacha, coal production status of Mongolia, dry and wet processing plant list technology. He is board member of Mongolia and Mineral Processing Association. Is he
Thank you.
You can present.
Okay. Okay, Mongolian Mineral Processing Association was established in 1998, and we are organizing every 2 year in the Mineral Process Congress, and we are also publishing the each month each monthly journal. You can see the more information on the website and the Facebook page. Okay, my presentation is going to present a Mongolian coal preparation plant. This is the first slides of the wet processing plant list. Our first wet plant and built in by Energy Resource 2011. It's the Australian company Sedgman. Below that, another coal preparation plants, and now is one of the biggest plants is 50 million ton, and mostly other plants in the 1 million tons. And we have the high media, jig, spiral, flotation technologies. And this is the continuous the table. And totally we have now in the 21 wet plant. Total capacity is 32 million ton. This is the last 10 years built most of the plants, and we are washing and thermal coal, mostly the coking coal, and washed coking coal and export to China, and even the thermal coal. This is some reference pictures for the company's plants. Mostly these plants located in the Mine Mount and the Mongolia province, close to mainly the Tauntalga and the Narinsquad coking coal deposits. Here is also some thermal coal washing plants. You can see, and more detailed information you can later to contact, and you can take the more detailed information. And we have now 11 dry processing plants. Total capacity is 17 million ton. Mostly the technology in Chinese FGX, and of course Mongolia is dry. And most of coking coal deposits located in Gobi area. That's why the most interesting technology is the dry technology, and now the second and third generation dry technologies tested in Mongolia. You can see here some dry plants pictures, and Mongolia also continues to build the biggest world biggest coking coal plant in based on the Tauntalga coking coal deposit. This is the 30 million ton in total capacity. Here's a summary. Now, in 2021, we have total processing plant installed capacity is around 50 million tons. From that, only the purchase capacity used 35% used capacity, and we have even more capacity, and we can purchase the coal. And even near the future, we also plan to more wet modern coking coal plants in the coal mine. And of course, most interesting in Mongolia is the dry technology. We are also interested in dry-wet hybrid technology to build in the Mongolian coal mines. Most important project is, of course, in the Tantolo and Merinsquad coking coal deposits. Okay, thank you for my presentation and time.
Thank you, sir. Now we would like to have Mr. K.H. Glambach. He is head of the coal processing plant, Tawan LLC, and he will present on the topic of current status, coke making plant and projects in Mongolia. Can we have him?
Mr. Gardenbeck.
Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to participate this online seminar. I would like to thank to Mongolian and Indian Coal Association. I'm working on Town Talodosh company as a head of coal processing plant. I would like to introduce our company. Town Talodosh company established in 2018. It is the largest manufacturer of the eco-friendly coal briquette for household heating in Ulaanbaatar. It is actually a daughter company of Town Tolgo joint stock company. Since the establishment, we have carried out clean coal project from which air pollution, especially particulate matter in UB, reduced up to 50% the last year. The main content of briquette is the middle product of coal washing plant, which sometimes doesn't meet the briquette standard. Therefore, we decided to launch our own coal washing plant. Having achieved reducing air pollution in UB, we initiated establishing coal washing plant and further development, including coke plant. As you see the presentation. Now I'm gonna introduce you to the current situation of coal coking plant in Mongolia. In December 2008, Inc. LLC started operating coal washing plant with a capacity of 1.2 million tons of clean coal per year, and coking plant which capacity is 300,000 tons per year, which is located in South Gobi province. The final product exports to China. The coking plant has 4 coking batteries. Each of them consists of 30 chambers. Coke making plant. That coke making plant has been working on and off which never has worked at full capacity because of environmental issues. Now I'm going to introduce our project. And Tom Dolgotush company is proposing to construct and operate a combined coke plant and power station in Bakanga district, which is located 92 kilometers far from Ulaanbaatar city. Coke plant, the coke will be transported by railway to Darhan city for steel smelters. Excess heat will be used to produce steam to generate electricity for national electricity grid. In summer, the project is estimated to create over 1,500 jobs in the coke and power plant. Of course, it restricts hard currency outflows, improve the skill base of labor pool, generate additional revenue by value adding to steel making raw materials. Of course, finally, provide an additional electricity generation capacity by the environmentally smart use of combusted coal gas. As you see on the slide, a visual overview of project. Coal to coke and the power process. I'm going to explain it. The key element is to note about the production process are coke is produced by heating coal, and gas is combusted in the environment in a smart way so as to produce the heat to make the coke. Excess heat is produced in the process, and this is used to generate electricity. The process doesn't rely on the combustion of coal, only the gas liberated from the coal. Greenhouse gas emission of the process are typical of simple gas-fired power generation. That is that rises steam and passes through a turbine. There is a scheme of the coal to coke process. Now I'm going to explain that need for the project. As each of you knows that Mongolia has huge coking coal and iron ore reserves, which have been exporting to China as raw materials. Mongolian iron ore resources are estimated around 1 billion tons, and coking coal resources at more than 20 billion tons. Now Mongolia has imported a maximum of more than 500,000 tons of steel products from China and Russia. It is valued at 282 million USD over the past 5 years. That imports make up more than 90% of steel supply in the country. Darhan Metallurgy plant launched the steel project in order to meet the growing demand for steel import in Mongolia, and the feasibility study of the project was completed. Mongolia power plant doesn't provide it is electricity demand. It is okay. This is in January 19th at the peak hours. We imported at the peak hours 64 megawatt electricity imported from Russia. Project's strategic advantage is that can produce competitive coke and steel products, benefiting from low raw material transportation tariffs and tax costs. On the slide, you see that we're gonna establish a coal washing plant and coke making plant in Bakanga, which is far from Taun Tolga mine, which is 801 kilometers far from Taun Tolga mine. A coal washing plant will be started operating by September in 2021. Its annual capacity is around 1 billion ton, and then we're gonna increase its capacity. On this slide, I'm gonna show production plan. This proposed technology adopts coke oven with the heat recovery method and stamp charging method, which consists of 422 coke ovens produces metallurgical coke with the size used in the blast furnaces. There, on the table, you see that annual coke output is around 500,000 ton. Fine parts of coke will be used ingredient of a coal briquette. Also, the vast heat used for generate generate 20 megawatt power station. There is, you see that the coking process parameters. Okay. Also, there is how to work with that coke oven. We are now working with the Thyssengraph and Korean POSCO jail machinery, Japanese GFE Steel Corporation, and the Chinese company. Thanks for paying attention.
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Divya. Please carry on.
Yes, sure. Now we would like to have Mr. B. Awed, Secretary General of Mongolian Academy of Sciences, and he will present the topic Coal, Chemical and Energy, Coal Chemical Studies and Projects in Mongolia.
أود تخاب أنه
Ini presentasi kali kakak itu. Oke, Good
Yes, we can see it.
afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends. My name is Avid. I'm from Mongolian Academy of Sciences and happy to see all of you online. Let me very briefly introduce general situation of coal research in Mongolia. Before, I would like to give very short introduction about situation in terms of the economy and other things. Generally, as probably you know, that Mongolia has quite big territory, 1.5 million square, which is 2 times less than India. However, we are rich in both renewable and non-renewable resources. As mentioned before, we are rich in different kind of natural resources like copper, molybdenum, gold, coal, and also we are quite rich in livestock. Generally, these two things are the pillars of the economy. But what is our disadvantage? It is probably you see that we have a very low population, around 2.3 million, and economy, as I said, based on agriculture and raw material export. Current GDP is around 4 million US, and we are, let's say, net oil products importer. And as you know that we have a quite extreme climate, which is very hot in the summer and quite cold or very cold in the winter, which is also not easy task for running of some kind of industry. And also we have no sea access. It's also limitation for economy. Okay, let me just briefly introduce coal resources. In generally, let's say we can divide the coal into the high quality and low quality. The green or in the eastern side of Mongolia has a lot of lower rank coals, which is far from China and not easy to transport, or it's non-economically to transport to China or to sell to China. But the high quality coals are located in the western part and in the southern part. And this high quality coals location is quite close to China, and it means that very suitable to sell them or to export to China. So let's say coal is the main source of energy in Mongolia and main source of economy, and of course main source of air pollution. And the demand of energy is increases very quickly due to the economic increasement. And also the oil products dependency getting more and more severe. So from this we can conclude what we can do on what is possible way to use coal. Just in my understanding, as I said, the high quality coal should be exported when the price is high. So we are currently, as you know that we export these coals in the raw and washed. Both we are exporting, and I think it's very good point. But as I said, we have to, or the researchers have to focus on lower rank coals, which is, as I mentioned, that not easy to export because of the quality, and also, as I mentioned, the territory is quite high, so it's transportation is non-economical. So currently we use the fuel or lower rank coals for the power generation, and also for the producing some fuels for the domestically. Just in further how we can use these low-rank coals. As we all know that polygeneration is the best way. Of course, just mentioned best way is to produce coke. Of course, it's the number one, the application, and also I think if we go for the producing some chemicals or some the polymer materials, maybe it's also possible way. And in the earlier there were a lot of projects on producing some coal to liquid, but in my understanding, maybe this is not so suitable way, because as you know, that CTL is very expensive and not easy. Maybe just to produce some clean energy using IGCC or some other technology, maybe also possible way. But anyway, the policy should be associated with the projects to be realized, like oil refinery plant in Mongolia or Russia to China gas pipeline through Mongolia. So our policy on coal should be associated or related to this, or it will be depends on these projects. Generally, let me very briefly introduce this research on coal in Mongolia. In general, there are three kinds of organizations where doing some kind of research on coal. So all these are under the Ministry of Education and Science, and there are one of the organization is Mongolian Academy of Sciences. There is the Institute of Chemistry and Chemical Technology. And second one is the National University of Mongolia. There is a Center for Coal Research, and also third one is the Mongolian University of Science and Technology. There are some School of Applied Sciences and Institute of Mining. These three organizations more or less doing some kind of research on coal. So just very briefly, what kind of projects ongoing? In the Institute of Chemistry and Chemical Technology, they are more or less recently they on focus on gasification of coal, and earlier a lot of work on done pyrolysis or carbonization of coal, some kind of. And there is also some application of humic acids from the lower rank coals for agriculture, and also some kind of project ongoing on to obtaining of pitch materials from the coal. Some kind of project is ongoing. Of course, the Institute of Chemistry and Chemical Technology has a very long tradition on research on coal, and they have did some kind of research in earlier, for example, in the 90s or 80s, they did a lot of or kind of research on liquefaction, or some kind of work has been done. Just let me briefly introduce the projects which carried out earlier. For example, they did very good job with the Russian Institute of Minerals, Institute of Combustion Minerals. So they did very good collaboration, and also they collaborated with the US and Japan to get some research on direct liquefaction tests. It's quite earlier, but generally these results, they found that in generally our coal is quite suitable for using for the direct liquefaction. Generally, currently, quite good research is ongoing in the National University of Mongolia. They also doing some research on coal gasification and also processing of oil shale. And generally, the researchers from the National University of Mongolia has a very good collaboration with Japanese university and institutes. Also, some research is ongoing in the National University of Material and Science and Technology. they more or less focus on utilization of coal ash and also some research on catalysts for coal conversion and steam reforming. Generally, they have a very good collaboration with Chinese universities and institutes. Just I would like to give 3 references. If you look these 3 references, you can get general information about coal research in Mongolia, and in terms of the geology, and of course in terms of the chemistry and so on. So I just would like to give just 3 these references. What I would like to conclude, generally coal research is the key area of the R&D of Mongolia and should be in further fostered. As I mentioned, we have to focus on dry beneficiation, which is, it's a very important technology in terms of the utilization of water. And of course, we have to focus on gasification, clean energy with low emission, and also we have to focus also on research on obtaining of the carbon materials. And the main important thing is the human resources. As you know, Mongolia is also have a low, very low population, and also the human capacity in terms of the science and industry is also limited. So it should be in further strengthened. And thank you very much. And if you have some comments or questions, you can send me email. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we can have a
Divya, excuse me. Can I ask
Yes.
a couple minutes before Indian partners starts?
No, we're having 15 minutes of question and answer round. We can utilize those time.
Yeah, just one gentleman quickly wanted to say greetings. Mr. Anar from Mineral and Petroleum Authority of Mongolia. He had some technical problem and I made his presentation. So let's ask him. Anar, Pano. Ada, I will quickly, yes, translate.
Байна би орж ирж байна.
Орж ирж байна.
За. За вебинарт оролцогч ирхэн гишүүд та бүхэнд энэ өдрийн мэндийг хүргье.
My warmest greetings to all participants.
Тэгээд энэ дэлхийн хамарсан ковидын цар тахлын үед вебинар зохион байгуулж байгаа Монгол нүүрс татаад энэтхгийн нүүрсний баяжуулалтын нийгэмлэг болон бусад зохион байгуулагч нарт онцгойн талархал илэрхийлмээр байна.
Thank you for organizers, Coal Association and Coal Corporation Society of India.
Тэгээд та бүгд өөрийгөө тавд танилцуулахад бол намайг Амар гэдэг. Би энэ ашигт Москва газрын үндэсний газар хүнд үйлдвэр техник технологи хэлцэд ажилладаг.
My name is Anar, Head of Division of Heavy Industry of Mineral and Petroleum Authority of Mongolia.
За тэгээд яг сая техникийн алдаанаас болоод би бас яг бичлэл илтгэлээ тавьчихсангүй. Тиймээс би Тиймээс боловчтой би нэг өөрийнхөө илтгэлийнхаа нэг 2 сүүлийн слайд дээр нэг товчхон нэг мэдээллийн чанартаас мэдээлэл өгөх гэсэн юм аа.
And I wanted to show you last 2 pages of my presentation and give additional information. So I open this here. Okay, which one? This one? No.
Тэрний дээдлэх.
Okay.
За, энд нэг энэхүү слайдаар би та бүхэн Монгол орны хүнд үйлдвэрийн салбарын талаар ерөнхий товчхон мэдээлэл өгье.
This shows general information about heavy industry in Mongolia.
За энэ төрөөс эрдэс баялагын салбарт баримтлах бодлого, төрөөс аж үйлдвэрийн салбарт баримтлах бодлого гэдэг хэд засгийн газрын бодлогод байдаг.
There are several policy documents in Mongolia, such as state policy on mineral sector, state policy on heavy industry development program.
Хүнд үйлдвэрч ерөнхий аж үйлдвэрч.
Industrial development program. Yes.
2019 онд 214 дугаар тогтоолоор хүнд үйлдвэрийн хөгжлийн үндэсний хөтөлбөр гэж батлагдсан.
In 2019, National Program on Heavy Industry Development was approved.
Тэгээд мөн ондоо уулуурхан хүнд үйлдвэрийн сайдын хүнд үйлдвэрийн хөгжлийн үндэсний хөтөлбөрийг хэрэгжүүлэх арга хэмжээний хөтөлбөр бас батлагдсан.
In the same year, the implementation plan for heavy industrial development program was approved by Minister of Mining.
Үүнтэй холбогдуулаад бид Монгол улсын газар нутаг дээр үйл ажиллагаа явуулж байгаа хүнд үйлдвэр гэсэн чиглэлээр үйл ажиллагаа явуулж байгаа үйлдвэрүүдийг газар дээр очиж бүртгэж авсан.
Following that decision, we visited all the heavy industrial projects and plant sites across Mongolia and registered their location and operation.
За, эдгээр үйлдвэрүүдийн байршлын зургийг бол та бүгд энэ зурган дээр харж байна. Энэ слайдн дээр.
So you can see the locations of those plants in this map.
Энд бол ерөнхийдөө 70 гаруй үйлдвэр бүртгэгдсэн байгаа. Гэхдээ мэдээллийн чанартай гэж хэлэхэд бол энд бол нэг юм хоёр ажилтнтай жижиг үйлдвэр болон 100 гаруй ажилтнтай энэ том үйлдвэрүүд бүгдөө багтсан байгаа шүү.
Over 70 plants were registered, but among them there are small enterprises with a couple of workers and larger enterprises with over 100 persons.
Тэгээд үүнтэй холбогдуулаад одоо энэ хүнд үйлдвэрийн салбар одоо өөрийн гэсэн бодлоготой болсон. Цаашд одоо энэ хүнд үйлдвэрийн хуультай болох талаар бид нар одоогоор ажиллаж байна.
So the basic policy documents for heavy industry is already set up, and now we want to work on draft for heavy industrial development law. Yes.
Тэгээд ер нь 2022 онд гэхэд ер нь энэ салбар өөрийн гэсэн хуультай болох төлөвлөгдөж байгаа.
By next year, we will have that law on heavy industry.
Энэхүү слайд дараагийн слайд.
Энийг би тайлбарласан байгаа шүү нэг ерөнхийдөө.
За энэ дээр би тэгвэл бас нэг товчхон мэдээлэл өгчээ. Засгийн газрын 2024 оны үйл ажиллагааны хөтөлбөр тусгагдсан зорилт арга хэмжээ хүнд аж үйлдвэрийн хөгжлийн хөтөлбөр болон алсын хараа 2050 бодлогын бичиг баримт дараах төслүүдийг хэрэгжүүлэхээр төлөвлөгдөж байгаа.
There are three major policy documents in Mongolia. One is Vision 2050, the basic long-term development policy. In that document, also in the heavy industry development program, and also in government action plan for next 4 years, the following three projects are highlighted.
Тэгээд сая товч төслүүдийг маань танилцуулсан болохоор би энэ дээр зөвхөн нэг юм нэмж хэлмээр байна.
I want to just add one issue.
Эдгээр үйлдвэрүүд одоо дарахнаас бусдна одоогийн байдлаар төслийн хүрээнд байгаа.
Except Darkhan, the right from top, all other projects are in the engineering planning stage.
Тиймээс одоо сайн техникийн шаардлаас болоод би одоо ингээд бэлтгэлээ бас бүрэн хэлж чадсангүй уучлаарай. Тиймээс хүнд үйлдвэртэй холбоотой асуулт байвал Монголын нүүрсний асоциацид дамжуулан асуулт тусдаа илгээх боломжтой надруу.
So if anyone will be interested in those projects, please feel free to contact to me through Coal Association of Mongolia, and I apologize again for not having this presentation because some issue.
За анхаарал хандуулсан баярлалаа. Та бүхэнд ажлын амжилт хүсье.
Thank you. I wish success to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Durga Prasad is having some questions. So we are handing over to Mr. Durga Prasad. You can ask your questions, sir, now.
Hello.
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Durga Prasad from same PDI Ranchi, subsidiary of Coal India Limited. My question is to what is the average raw coking coal ash in Mongolia, Mongolian coking coal that Ravid has replied through chart that 10 to 20% weight percentage. And another question is that any other dry beneficiation technology other than FGX is developing in Mongolia. That is my question. And Mr. Ravid is answered that it is under developing stage and research R&D stage. That is fine. That is okay.
Thank you, Mr. Durga Prasad.
Okay.
Divya, can we have the questions by chat, and after we hear Indian presentations, we answer and we make discussion.
Yeah, that we can do. We can break it out over here, and we can start towards the Indian delegates presentation. And at the end of conference, we can have the questions answered. Ms. Mathur, sir, you can ask the questions after the all presentations from Indian side also.
Yes. Okay, and I also asked Mongolian partners, please send your questions in chat.
Yeah, that will be okay.
We will address question later, please, Mr. I'm Digmaran. Okay. Can we start the Indian presentation, Divya?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure. Now we would like to have Mr. R.K. Sachdev, President CPSI, and he will be presenting on coal industry of India, import, trade, quality, import from Mongolia, and etc. Sachdev, sir. I will be presenting his presentation.
Divya, upload my presentation, please.
Yes, sir. Is it visible, sir?
No, not yet.
I think it's already started.
Yeah, now it's there.
Now
Put it
visible.
on slideshow mode. Divya, put it on slideshow mode.
Yes, sir, I'm doing it. Is it okay now, sir?
Not yet in slide. It has not come on slideshow mode.
Wait for a few seconds. It's already on the presentation mode.
Okay.
Yes, can see it.
Yeah, is it visible?
I can see it.
Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, everyone. And I are welcoming Mr. Ancobold, advisor to the ambassador in India, and also I request him to convey our regards to the ambassador, His Excellency, so that next time when we'll have his presence here. And I welcome all our Mongolian friends as well as Indian friends who are presenting and all the participants this morning and now this afternoon. So we had a set of very excellent presentations from the Mongolian side, and we'll try to cover from the Indian side whatever best we can do. Thank you. I now present a scenario on the Indian coal industry very briefly. Next slide, Divya.
Sir, I have changed to the next slide.
Yeah, you carry on. Change.
So next slide is visible?
No, not yet. Yeah. You see, I'll be covering very briefly on the Indian coal scenario, in the energy scenario, how important coal is for us, and can coal be clean, how much electricity we generate, and government initiatives in the policy reforms. And we'll also have a small brief on the renewable energy and our efforts to have low carbon approach in my presentation. Next slide, please. See, we are now in the stage of formulating an energy policy, and which covers all the tenets of requirement, demand, supply. Per capita electricity consumption in India is only 1208 kilowatt hours, which is among the lowest in the world, compared to the world average of 2500 kilowatt hours. Our national energy policy is presently under finalization and hope to be ready by end of this year. The focus of the policy is based on our commitment at the Paris Climate Treaty, where we have committed that our GHG emissions will be reduced by 35% below 2005 level by 2030. And our approach is to meet the sustainable development goals of energy, environment, and water consumption with regard to all the 17 sustainable development goals, and to alleviate poverty in all dimensions of people within India and also the world as a whole. Our national energy policy also takes care of the uncertainties in the minds of investors and other companies who are strongly engaged in the energy production, supply, and distribution. Next slide, please. On the coal industry is a very brief overview. Our coal mining dates back to year 1774, and we are second largest coal industry in terms of production and fourth largest in terms of proven coal resources in the world. Our coal deposits of very high ash content because they are of drift origin. Sulfur is very low, below 0.5%. There are 20 major coal fields located in the eastern and southeastern quadrant of the country. That, of course, adds to problems of transportation across the country. The geological resources have been estimated at 344 billion tons. Of these, little over 150 billion tons are proven resources. Lignite resources are around 56 billion tons, of which about 6 billion tons are in proven category. Coal mines were nationalized in 1973, and in 1993 the law was again changed to allow private companies to develop their coal mines for their consumption, but this policy was again changed in 2014. As per latest government policy, government has started allowing commercial mining so that private companies can develop coal mines for free sale and consumption of coal within the country, and they can export if there is a market for them. Next slide, please. Any company registered in India can participate in the auction now. Some 48 blocks, 8 blocks already put on auction. Now there are about another 64 blocks are put on auction. Coal-based energy is 57%, with 72% electricity comes from coal. There are over 600 coal mines which are operating in the country. 2 government companies, that is Coal India Limited, which supplies about 80% of domestic production, and one state and central joint venture company called Singareni Coal Companies, which is within central government and Telangana government joint venture, produces about 10% of the production. 70% of the total production is used for electricity generation. Last year, coal production was in 2019-20 730 million, but year just now it's ending, probably will end a little less because of COVID interruptions. Lignite production is about 50 million tons. Previous year we imported 248 million tons of coal, including 52 million tons of metallurgical coal, which is coming mainly from Australia. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Sir, I've already done that. It takes few seconds to.
Okay. Now this is the reserve position which is coming up. You find the thermal coals, high ash content, largely, and the locations are shown in the map. They are only localized to south and southeastern quadrant. Next. Next slide, Divya.
Sir, I did it. It takes few seconds.
Okay. Okay. This presentation will be available to you as recorded. So even if I'm rushing through a few, don't worry. You will have these in your files, and we'll email to you in case you require individually. This is a very interesting slide. It shows the role of coal in coming years. See, in the year 2035, global energy demand, which is going up, Indian share will be 9%. And coal will be 66% of the total energy requirement in 2035. Renewable will increase to 14%, and oil will drop to 3% from 14%. If you compare with other countries, China has got 26% global energy consumption in 2035, US 13%, India 9%, Russia 4%, and Brazil 2%. And share of coal-fired power generation will fall, but still remain quite large. In 2019, it was 72%. 2023, it will be 68%. 2030, it will go down to 56%. And at 2040, it will flatten to 42%. Next slide. Now there is a lot of debate going on whether coal can be clean, whether coal will really be used. People are even predicting death of coal. But in countries which are heavily dependent on coal, including your country, Mongolia, and our country, and China, other South Asian countries, We have to focus on mitigating negative impacts of coal, because coal provides cheap, reliable, affordable energy which can be which can meet the needing economy as well as the population. World's 40% electricity, 80% steel, 90% of cement is produced from coal as a major feedstock. Coal production and supply chain creates employment both upstream and downstream. This is the economic advantage of coal. Emissions from coal-fired plants can be effectively and economically tackled with high efficiency and low emission technologies like gasification, supercritical, ultra supercritical generations, coal to methanol, coal to fertilizer, coal to chemicals, and a host of other value-added petroleum substitutes which can produce clean energy. Carbon capture and sequestration, as well as carbon capture and utilization, are proving effective technology for keeping coal clean. And cleaning coal is very important for us because our coal is a very high ash content and we stress on coal washing. In the country, we have more than 200 washeries operating, both for coking coal and thermal coal. Next slide. This is the energy mix which we have presently shown in a pie chart. And you can see how coal is contributing more than 50% energy. Then we have oil and gas, renewables. Nuclear is very small to the extent of 2%. Next. Electricity generation by source. In 2019, 1,400 billion units total were generated in the country, of which coal was almost 75%. Nuclear was 3.3%, hydro was 11.2%, wind was 4.6%, and solar was 3.6%. This is the total mix of generation of electricity by source. Next, please. See, this is the installed generation capacity. Today is about 372 gigawatt. Coal is about 200 gigawatt. Lignite is 600 gigawatt. Gas is very small quantity and hydro is 45 gigawatt. Nuclear is about 7 gigawatt. And renewables are very close to 90 gigawatt today. While coal will continue to be a major source of energy supply, the country is also putting a lot of stress on the renewable energy. There is a robust demand and it is projected to generate 15 terawatt of energy, 15,000 terawatt of energy in 2040. Projected renewable installed capacity will be 45% of the total in 2030. Foreign direct investment is coming in a big way to develop renewable energy, particularly solar and wind. Because government has a strong policy support aiming at 400 gigawatt capacity by 2030. And target for 2022 has been raised from 175 gigawatt to 225 gigawatt from the renewable sources. India has a competitive edge. In 2018, Indian position in the renewable was, solar was fourth, fifth in solar, and fifth in overall, and fourth, fifth in solar also. 2019, we are third. And India is the lowest per megawatt solar plant capacity cost in the country, world. Next, please. This is an interesting slide for particularly those who are looking at the coal import and exports. 2019-20, we imported 48 million tons of coal. Thermal was about 250 million was about. metallurgical coking. We need to import coal to supplement domestic shortage, to meet the requirement almost to the full extent of coast-based power stations. For them, it's convenient to import rather than carrying long distance by rail within the country. And to meet the requirement of cement plants and other users, which generally require high quality coal, and they prefer to import. Then coking coal imports mainly for steel plants. Our total requirement currently is about 65 million tons, of which 52 million tons is imported. And we aim to have our steel making capacity of 300 million tons by 2030. And we'll be requiring almost 170 million tons of coking coal. Now, present imports are coming largely thermal coal, 47% from Indonesia, largely coking coal, 19% from Australia, partly coking and partly thermal, 17% from South Africa. US is we are importing coking coal. Mozambique, coking coal about 2%. From Russia is also coking coal about 3%. From Canada is about 2%. From other countries, 5%. From Mongolia at the present there is no import, but the discussions are going on. Our government-owned steel companies, SAIL, as well as private companies like JSPL, JSW, they are already having a lot of interest in Mongolian coal. And you heard Mr. Enkold, who is the advisor to the ambassador of Mongolia in India, that even samples have been supplied to Indian companies for testing, and their coal have been found to be suitable to meet our requirement. Next, please. What I mentioned about importing from Mongolia is due to logistics, there is a problem, but we are working on it together. SAIL and other iron steel companies are exploring possibility of getting coal. Our exports are very minimal, and we supply only to neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. And on the importing side, government is stressing that imports should be reduced and we should increase the domestic production. But in the matter of coking coal, we will continue to import in large quantities, and probably Mongolia will start supplying coking coal very soon, maybe next year or maybe year after next, so that we have business relations getting more deeper with Mongolia and India together. Next one. Now, in the current scenario of many countries going away from coal, an Indian problem of our shortage of hydrocarbon reserves, we are import dependent to the extent of 86% on hydrocarbon, oil and gas. So our dependence on coal will continue largely for the next 3 to 4 decades or even maybe beyond that. So we are stressing on reducing the emissions as agreed at the Paris Climate Treaty. As I already mentioned, by having more renewable capacity, there is a push for electrical vehicles. There is a program for installation of charging stations at very short distances. It has already started. Stringent emission norms have been imposed on the power plants, coal-fired power plants, and there is a focus on demand-side management for energy efficiency, adoption of high-efficiency, low-emission technologies for generation, and also we are going in for producing cleaner fuel from coal like methanol. And one fertilizer plant is already started. We will hear about that today in the presentation after some time. The policy focus of coal use and routes is becoming very sharp and stressed by the government. But still, because there are industries like steel, cement will continue to use coal. Next one, please. I am concluding my presentation here. It's mostly I already told that we need more and more reliable and affordable energy for industries, for urban mass rapid transport, in form of electricity for building urban infrastructure, highways, hospitals, electricity, railways, ports, to meet the challenge of developing our economy, to provide better quality of life to 1.35 billion people. You have said that your population is 1 divided by 410 times India. So some of the big cities have that much population here. With 72% electricity, 65% iron steel, 90% cement coming from coal. Coal will continue for many, many decades to be used in this part of the world. While there is a push to increase coal production, to reduce imports and attain self-sufficiency in coal, India is giving bigger push to renewable resources, and target for renewable has already been increased to 25 gigawatt for 2022. In the field of reduction of carbon emissions, already we are focusing on having more capacity of non-fossil fuel, having efficient and low emission technology for generation, efficiency, promoting mass rapid transport, electric vehicles. We are slowly shifting towards electric vehicles, and it is targeted by 2030 or maybe 2035. All vehicles on the road will be electric vehicles in India. To conclude the whole thing, I must say that coal, renewable energy, natural gas, oil, methanol from coal, hydrogen, which is the fuel of future, India's overall energy basket will have all these together in a balanced way. We are stressing on clean processing, clean transportation and utilization, and keeping the costs affordable. Thank you very much. We can have the questions under the presentations. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Now we will have Dr. T. Gauricharan, Chief Scientist, Central Institute Mining and Fuel Research, and he will present on coal status of India, plant list and technology. Sir, I will present your presentation.
Please.
Yeah, I'm just... Are the slides visible?
No, not yet, Divya.
Not yet. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes, yes. Make it in a slide mode.
Yes, now visible.
Is it visible now in the slide mode?
No, not yet. Shall I continue?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, okay, Divya. Thank you. Thank you, sir. My topic of presentation is on coal preparation status of India, plant list and technology. I am Gauricharan, working as a chief scientist at Central Institute of Mining and Fuel Research. Next slide, Divya. As already Sajdev sir has already told you about the coal scenario in India. Just skip this slide, Divya. This I wanted to let you know, because most of our coal resources, about 87%, it is a non-coking coal variety, and rest is about coking, and we are having a little bit of high sulfur coals and tertiary coals are there, and but major of our coal reserves are non-coking coal reserves. Next slide, please. Coming to the coking coal reserves, most of our coking coal reserves are in the Jharia and Bokaro coal fields, and the distribution you can see that most of our present coking coals, because the coking coals in the upper seams are exhausted, now we are going for lower seams, seam 5, 6, 7 and below. These coals are having very high low volatile matter, And I'll just show you the characteristics of our coking coal. Next slide, please. You can see the characteristics of our coking coal. Our coking coals are very high ash content. It's ranging from 30 to 55, even 50, 60% also coals are available in the coking coal belt of Jharia, especially in the western Jharia part. And our coking coals are low volatile matter content, but they are very highly mature. And one major problem of our coking coal is they are having very poor washability potential. That is, they fall under the category of difficult to wash. These coals are very difficult to wash because of the typical geological formations and highly intergrown mineral matter and high near gravity material at the desired density of cut and poor plant performance. So presently we are facing this problem because of our washability potential is very poor. And I will show you the list of the washeries. Next slide, please. We have started with the coking coal washing right from 1951. Initially, we had around 35 coking coal washeries in India, both in public and private domain. And because most of our upper seams have exhausted, now these washeries were mainly constructed based upon the coal characteristics then available based on the upper coal seams. Now we are mining lower seams coal, and these coals, when fed to the old coking coal washeries, they are not performing well. So that is why we have most of our coking coal washeries have dismantled and they are going for other new washeries. But presently we are having 16 coking coal washeries under operation, 8 in the prime coking belt of Jharia, and then 8 in the west medium coking coal in the Bokaro coalfields. See, our coking coal washing mainly we use here in India mainly you can see we are having a jig separation for coarser particle, and for in the intermediate range we are using heavy medium cyclone, and for the coal fines we use flotation. But most of the public washeries like your CCL washeries and BCCL washeries, Bharat Coking Coal Limited, they are having their washeries. They don't process the coal fines. They are just left out and being segregated in the tailing ponds and used for different purposes. So because of various reasons, these coal fines are not washed. But Tata's, they are having their washeries, 4 washeries in Jamadoba and other places in West Bokara Ghato. They are washing their coal fines by either through flotation, or recently they have installed a new coking coal washery in Jamadoba, where they are using a reflux classifier. So they are processing the coal fines, and unfortunately our Coal India washeries, they are not processing their coal fines. But around 10 to 15% of coal fines are lost. And this is the major cream of our coking coal. We need to wash our coking coal fines also. So these are the basic washing processes what we use for coking coal. It's generally a jig, then we use cyclone, bath, and then for fines flotation. Next slide, please. And this is the same condition in the Bokaro coking coal, the medium coking coal washeries, where we are having jig as a pre-washing system, cyclone, 2-stage cyclones, in especially in the Tata, they use 2-stage cyclones, and we are having a buttock jig, cyclone. So these are the main washing systems where presently we are not using any dry beneficiation in coking coal washing system. Most of our washing systems are wet washers being used for coking coal washing system. Next slide, please. So what is the school of thought for the presently coking coal? See, recently we have carried out a lot of tests on the low volatile coking coals. 3 school of thoughts have come up. One is our Central Institute of Mining school of thought, where we crush the ROM to a top size of 75 mm, and we deshade for getting a pre-cleans, middlings, and rejects. The pre-cleans are screened at 13 mm and 0.5 mm, and then washed in HM drum, cyclones, and flotation. Combination of these 3 cleans we are getting the total cleans. So this is the school of thought for simpler process. And CMPDI Ranchi, they are having the school of thought, that is the ROM coal is crushed to 50 mm and screened at 13 mm. Deshelling of the fraction 50 to 13 mm to obtain a pre-cleans and rejects. Then the pre-cleans are crushed to 13 mm and blended with the untreated minus 13 mm. They are deslimed at 0.5 mm, and the fraction 13 to 0.5 mm is washed in heavy medium cyclose and minus 5 mm in flotation. Based upon this school of thought, 2 new coking coal washeries have come up in India recently, and they are under operation. And few more washeries are coming up based upon this scheme. While Tata's right from the beginning, they are going for ROM coal is crushed to as a 20 or 13 mm top size, screening at 0.5, and 13 to 0.5 is in 2-stage heavy medium cyclone, and minus 0.5 mm they are washing it in the flotation circuits. And recently, I already told you that new washery, they have installed a reflex classifier, and they are proposed to use a column flotation also recently, but still studies are going on the column flotation circuit. And the next slide, I will show you a new flow sheet. What next slide, Divya. See, this is the flow sheet. What recent flow sheet Patadi washery, where the ROM is crushed to 50 mm and it is screened at 13 mm. The 50 to 13 mm deshelling in a deshell jig, and the deshell cleans are crushed to 13 mm, and they are blended with the untreated bulk, and then deslabed, and 13 to 0.5 that is being fed to heavy medium cyclone, and minus 0.5 to a flotation. So this is the recent new washeries which are coming up under this scheme of washing. What we at Simper found that this scheme we are having some problem, especially with the flotation circuit, where it is giving a lot of problems because this flotation slurry is becoming more dirtier because they are not being deshelled earlier. Similarly, we are finding difficult in setting up the cut gravity of the HM cyclone also, because we are not deshelling the 13 to 0.5 mm, only the coarser is deshelled. So this is giving some problem. However, studies are going on how to overcome this. So this is the area where we are having problem with the new washing scheme. Next slide, please. Coming to the non-coking coal, see, already we are having a huge resource of non-coking coal, but unfortunately, major of our resources are falling about 34% and above ash content. So this is our, its share is around more than 77%. So these coals we need to wash and use it power plants or for other use. But I'll show you what are the characteristics of our non-coking coals. Next slide, please. So these are our general characteristics of our Indian non-coking coal. Our non-coking coals are thick coal seams. They are highly interbanded. They are inferior in quality with high ash content, the high inertinite and mineral matter in our non-coking coals, and very less vitrinite content. But one positive point of our non-coking coal resources, they are low in sulfur and chlorine content, low in iron and phosphorus content, and they are refractory in nature. So this is a positive characteristics what we are having in our Indian non-coking coals. Next slide, please. The non-coking coal washing, what we are presently adopting is mostly our non-coking coal washeries in India. They are washing only the coarser fraction, that is the plus 30 or 13 mm, and mixing the minus 30 or 13 mm with the clean coal. So this is, we are going for a partial beneficiation. And one typical washery, the Pipperwar coal washery, non-coking coal washery, this is following that partial coal beneficiation. They are only washing the coarser fraction in jig, and the minus 30 mm they are blending with the cleans of the jig and using for the power generation. So this is the typical washing options which are being followed in India, especially for beneficiation of non-coking coal. The next slide, I will show you some of the data. Next slide, please, Divya. See, this is the coarse coal clean washing. We have collected samples from most of the coal fields in India, like eastern coal fields, western, southeastern coal fields, Singareni coal fields, MCL, and we have carried out the washability studies of the plus 13 mm. What we have found out is this: these are very high ash content. They are very plus 45% ash content, and you can see from the washability data, most of the coals are segregated at about 2 specific gravity. See, you can more than 30% with very high ash are segregated at greater than 2 specific gravity. The next graph will tell you, Divya, next slide please. You see most of the coal is concentrated about 2 specific gravity. So if we may not require a very high level of washing, just simply deshelling. If you remove this high above 2 material, then we will be achieving more or less than 30-35% ash material. So for our Indian coal washing, we need only the simple deshelling. If you deshell in a jig or anything, we can remove this high gravity material instead of going for a very complicated circuits like using HM circuit, or we can just simply deshell. You can just simply remove this material above 2 specific gravity, and then we can achieve our required ash in the clean coal. Next slide, Divya. See, already technology being used for washing non-coking coal. See, most of our 70 non-coking coal washeries we are having with total throughput capacity of about 180 million tons per annum. And Coal India Limited, they are operating 5 non-coking coal washeries with throughput capacity of 18 million tons per annum. And others are in the private sector. The technology is what we are presently being followed. As already I told you, most of them we are going for partial beneficiation only. Barrel cum cyclone washing process. Some of the washeries have installed barrel washers. Jigging, we are having all types of jig like bomb jig, buttock jig, and rom jig. Rom jig in one of our washery, Bina washery, we have installed a rom jig. So jigging, and in some washeries they are using heavy medium bath and heavy medium cyclone. So fines and this we are not beneficiating presently for our non-coking coal. Only the coarser fraction is being washed. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you for the question here.
Thank you, sir. Our next presentation will be from Dr. Durga Sharma, sorry, Business Director, Cotegna, India, and he will be presenting on coal testing and quality checks.
Yeah, thanks, Divya. Should I share my screen for presentation, or you are going to do that?
I am sharing, sir. I am sharing. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, it's coming now. Yes, Divya, it is okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, we know a lot of things about Indian coal, which has been covered by Sastev sir and Dr. Gauri Charan. Now, let us look into how the quality to be maintained or the quality monitoring is to be done in supply chain of coal. So quality monitoring is an essential requirement for process control, plant performance, and for any transaction between the consumer and the producers. This is very important in all these three factors. And it requires a proper implementation of standard sampling scheme, preparation, and testing procedures. How it can impact? In coal mining and processing industry, the decision may involve the huge capital investments for designing the coal operations and producing the right specifications. And that's why the quality monitoring may have the major impact on cost and decision making. Next slide, please. In quality monitoring scheme, there are 3 major steps which need to be properly implemented. One is the sampling, then sample preparation, and the testing. And if you see with the graphs, sampling itself contributes to approximately 80% where the sampling variations takes place. So sampling activity itself is very important. 15% is contributed through the sample preparation and only 5% in the testing, because a lot of sophisticated instruments are available for testing the quality of the coal in lab these days. Coal, as everyone knows, that it is a heterogeneous material, and therefore sample collection has to be a representative sample so that the correct quality of the load can be given. It has to be free from all the biases and reduce the sampling variances. it is very difficult because it is a heterogeneous material. So it is very difficult to get the highest level of sample precision also. And as I mentioned, the 80% of the variance happens in sampling itself. So it has to be taken with the utmost care. Next slide, please. Coal quality checks at value chain. Starting from the exploration and up to the market, coal go through these 4 steps: at the exploration, then mining, processing, and then utilized in the consumer places. It is either in the blast furnace or it is in the boilers, wherever it is used. And at each of the step in quality checks in the value chain, it has the sub processes. At exploration, it has to be taken care of the coal quality itself when you are exploration stage, when you are drilling the cores. What is the geology of the coal? What is the mineralogy of coal? Because all these things, all these properties makes a lot of difference when the coal is utilized for this specific purpose. So at mining, when we comes to mining also, we have to take care of the quality checks and testing, and the sub process have been defined here. I will not go through the total details of each process here because of the time constraint, but you will get this presentation and you can go through this one. Processing also, of course, for the plant efficiency, sampling, what we are feeding to the plant and what we are getting out of this, that has to be controlled. And then in the market, when we go to the market, the specific requirement of the specific use, whether it is in the power plants or if it is in the steel plant, those quality checks have to be maintained in the required specifications of the market. Next slide, please. This is the coal quality value chain quality variability. When it is at the exploration stage, we are doing the drilling and all those things. What happens is there is a wide variation in the quality. You get from 1200, 1300 GCV to up to even 5000. When it is mined, the quality variability has been defined to a reduced level what we are going to mine. So it reduces the variability at the mining stage. But when it comes to the processing stage, it is further reduced. And finally, when it is coming to the market for the utilization, you have a small bracket and your quality has to fall within that bracket. So it can be used as per the requirements. So the quality checks and testing at each stage from exploration up to the market is necessary. Please go to the next slide. Next slide, Divya. Yeah.
Sir, I did it.
So as I mentioned, sampling scheme, preparation and testing are the 3 major steps of quality monitoring. So in sampling scheme, due to the technical cost and time constraints, the sampling procedure can be modified from the standards. Like we have BIS standards in India, we have ASTM standard, we have ISO standards. But depending upon these 3 parameters, it can be slightly modified. But while modifying also and implementing or establishing a sampling scheme, we have to take care of few aspects which are important to correct a representative sample to get the correct results. That is purpose of the sample. What is the purpose of the sample? You are doing it for a regular quality check, you are doing it for the plant design, or you are doing it at the process design, or you are using it at the blast furnace or power plant. So what is the purpose of taking the sample? Increment collection method, whether it is going to be sampling should be mechanical or manual. Decide whether the continuous or intermittent sampling is done. Sampling should be from the moving belts or the stationary belts. Selection of the appropriate procedures, define the loads, number of loads, increments, mass of the increment, and the sampling device which we are going to use. Because all these above conditions affect the sampling precision and accuracy. So the sampling scheme, establishing a proper sampling scheme is very important. Please go to the next slide. As I said, the precision and accuracy. This is one of the example I'm showing you. Precision is the closeness of the data in given condition and indicates the reproducibility of the results. As we say, smaller is the random error and precise will be the method. If you see the first picture of this 4 circles, the first one is the least, I would say the bad condition where the sampling scheme has not been properly established. You will get the erratical results of each sublot. And the last 4th one, if you see, that is a high accuracy and high precision condition where you get the accurate results of all the sublots. So the sampling scheme, everything depends, most of the things I would say more than 80% things depends on how the sampling scheme has been established. This is the importance. Please next slide. As far as sampling methods are concerned, there are many devices available these days. See, there are manual methods, there are mechanical methods. In manual methods, there are limitations of collecting a representative sample. For example, you see the first picture, that is wagon top sampling. You cannot go to a complete depth of the wagon when you are drawing a sample from the loaded this one. But when you go to the stop belt sampling, that is also a manual method. You get an accurate and correct sample from this type of sampling. When you go to the cross belt and streamlines or automechanical errors, augers, depending upon the location and type of samplings and the place of the sampling, you can select which type of device is required and accordingly get design from the market and implement it. There are n numbers of designs are available in the market these days, which covers all the standard requirement of ISO, ASTM or BIS. Next slide, please. In code testing, the normally proximate and ultimate analysis along with the calorific value gives a general idea about the characteristics or the quality of the coal. But additionally, when you do the ash chemistry, ash fusion and HGI, it gives you the additional important information how it is going to behave when it is fed to the plant. So that is also required. Coal has a tendency of gaining or losing the moisture. So when you collect the sample, it has to be kept in a condition where the physical condition is not changed until it is prepared. It undergoes the oxidation when it is exposed to the atmosphere, and therefore the strict adherence to the standard procedures to obtain a repeatable and reproducible results becomes very important. What are the techniques used for coal testing these days? There are several techniques available in the market for coal testing and characterization. A number of modern sophisticated instruments have come up, like even for proximate analysis or ultimate analysis, or you go for the calorific value. You have a high accuracy instruments available in the market, and which gives you very, very accurate results when it is tested in the lab. So, as I mentioned in the first slide itself, only 5% errors in the coal testing labs, because you have the sophisticated instruments available for this. So sufficiently accuracy of the results is important. Instrumentation analysis techniques are also available, and it can be applied at complete supply chain of coal, that is where it is mined, where it is processed, where it is transported, and when it is utilized in the plants. There are online analyzers are also available these days, which gives you a quick analysis, and they can be, or they are implemented, they are installed in some of the processing plants, washeries, and power plants also, which gives you the quick analysis. Next slide, please. These are some of the critical control points in supply chain. At mining head, we have to look at in-pit drillings, sampling and data analysis. Sizing of the coal, it matters a lot, because smaller is the size, better would be the precision, and more representative will be the sample. Blending of the coal. Power plants usually supplied with the coal, mixed coal from, let us say, same mine but different seams, which might have the different characteristics as well. So if the blending at mine head itself can be taken place, or can be can be done before supplying it, that can be one of the measures which can be taken care of. At washing plant or the processing plant, see, the coal washing can influence its quality, uniformity, and quantity of fuel before and after the washing. So coal before and after washing, after the washing units, you have to have the quality check at both the stages. So you know what you are feeding and what you are producing. The aim should be that we go for quality product oriented design and not the rejects oriented design, because sometimes people look at what I can get from the rejects as well. So your focus has to be on quality product, not the rejects. At power stations and consumers points, when you get, see, a power plant is getting the coal from different sources, different origins, different mines and different seams. So as far as the quality control is required at the power plant before it is fed to the boilers, it is important that they can homogenize the sample. That is one practice. If they homogenize the sample, it reduces the fluctuations in coal properties. So you get the uniform quality, and heat value will be uniformly, heat value also will be controlled. You can do the mixing and blending. When you do the mixing or blending from the different origins and different quality of coals, you definitely can produce a different quality coal as per your requirement. Periodic testing of all the quality parameters at each stage is highly recommended. Please, next slide. Losses and measure techniques are also can be defined here in a short-term and long-term basis. In long-term basis, it is recommended that all auto-mechanical sampling system should be available at all the sampling points, so that you remove the human interference and human errors. Automechanical augers for the stationary sampling and automechanical samplers for the bulk sampling. This can be the long-term solution. But sometimes if you have to go for the manual sampling, the short-term losses and measures techniques are also defined. That when you do the sampling or these quality checks manually, so you should have the practical procedures of routine implementation and checks, so that you minimize the errors and perform the periodic tests at each stage for each activity. And those periodic tests for sampling and testing can be the overall precision. You have to measure that so that you understand how much you are deviating from the standard. Increment variations, sampling and preparation and testing variance, and bias test. This bias test should be done for even the mechanical sampling devices as well. Next slide, please. This is one of the example how quality control is introduced by Government of India in domestic coal supply to the power industry. See, this the objective of this project is it is about establishing the quality control in domestic coal supply from coal mines up to the thermal power plants. And this exercise is conducted in collaboration with three ministries, that is Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Power, and Ministry of Technology. And then it has been sublet to my company, that is Cotecna Inspection India. We have been associated with this project at mine heads as well as for the power plants. It involves the quality control of about 800 million tons of coal per annum. And the idea is to put 100% production under this quality control, which is currently about plus 600 million tons supplied to the power industry. But Indian government is targeting to become self-sufficient very soon. And the target is to produce approximately 1 billion ton coal domestically per year. The scope of this project is for sampling, sample preparation, and quality checks at the loading as well as unloading end, means mine side, as well as in the power plants. And this involves the intervention at more than 300 locations at mines, because India is, I think, Coal India is the largest iron coal producer in the world. It has about 300 active mines at this stage, if I'm not wrong. And more than 70 plants, power plants, this exercise has been conducted for the last 4 years. Next slide, please. And last but not the least, I would conclude with this sentence saying there are different flavors of coal, different taste in boilers, and different reasons to select one recipe or technology instead of another, because coal is an economical source of energy, and controlling quality coal is a way to do more with less. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Divya.
Now we would like to have Mr. Devvrat Prasad Chakravarti, Chief Raw Material Division, Tata Steel R&D, and he will be presenting on coke making and steel making, impact of raw material quality in coke making and iron making.
So Dibba, can I share the presentation, because it will be easy for me to control?
Sure, that will be better.
Okay. So is it visible? No?
Not right now, sir.
Okay. So is it visible now?
No, sir, not yet. Yeah, it is visible now.
Okay. So now will be myself and my colleague Prashanjit, both will be covering this the topics of including the steel making. So the topic which I will be covering is the impact of raw material quality in the coke making. So you know that we are from the Tata, and it has been built on the Jamshedji's visions. So many people in India know very well, and I think it is for the rest of the people. And we have the global presence in 26 countries, manufacturing operations, and the commercial presence in 50 countries. We're the Fortune 500 company. And as a global conglomerate, we are the 11th largest steel producers in the world. And we have more than 65,000 employees across 5 continents. Now, if you see the Tata Steel's value chain, so it starts from the raw material to the to marketing. So we that in case of raw material, we have our own iron ore mines, and in Indian operations, we are self-sufficient in that. And for the coal, we have both underground and also open cast mines. From there, we are supplying the coal to our iron making process. But because of these the reserves in the coke, as has been told by my earlier speakers, is not much in India, and we also do not whatever the mines and collieries we have. So we are able to supply only 30% of the total demand. So rest is getting imported. Now this is the iron making operations. So in brief, so we are in blast furnace, we are making hot metals, and which is going to the finally to the next steps, that is steel making. So in the blast furnace, so major that we are the mix is basically in the Barden we are using sinter, we are using pellet, and we are using the lumpur. So the distribution is that around 50% sinter is there, and around 40% is the pellet, and the 10% is lump. So this is the burden we are generating is there, and that coke is the reductant. So as I said, that only 30% is getting supplied from our captive coal mine, and the rest we are importing. And we are also injecting PCI. So I'll be explaining the why we are doing all these things. So I'm in the if you see the Indian iron ore occurrence, I'm in the slide number 7. So you know that we are in the eastern part of the India. All our deposits in the iron ore. So if you see the deposits in India, so there are 2 types of deposits you will find. So one is that which is ferruginous in nature, and other one is the siliceous in nature. So our deposit is the mostly ferruginous in nature, and here the main gang is alumina. So I am in the slide number 8 now. So you know that if you see the iron bearing minerals per se, so which is available across the world, it is hematite, magnetite, limonite, and goethite. And there are other iron bearing minerals are also there, but it's specifically for India. These are the main things. So you know that, and as I said in the earlier slide, so majority is coming from the 70% is the hematite only, and the rest is the other type of materials. And you know that, as I said, the major gangs are in the form of the gibbsite, kaolinite, and the quartz, which is mainly the alumina. And I will be explaining in the subsequent slides what are the impact of the alumina in the downstream process. So now I am in the slide number 13. So I don't know, it is showing 13 here. So it is increasing alumina levels impact in the agglomeration, blast furnace, and as well as steel making process. So if you see in the slide that increase in the alumina in the fines leads to the increase in the heat rate and reduce the productivity and the lowering the tumbler index of the sinter, and also the reducibility of the sinter is getting impacted. And whenever this high alumina is getting charged to the blast furnace, so there is increase in the heat rate, and also there is drop in the productivity, and the flux requirement is also going up. So there are multiple impact is there of if we allow the gang to go to the next level of the process. So just a ballpark figure, if we able to reduce the 0.1% alumina in the iron ore, so around for a 10 million ton crude steel production level, so there will be benefit of around 277 crore. So that is the magnitude for this type of reduction of the gang in the upstream process. So if you see this graph, so you know that the impact in the sinter making. So here it is basically carbon rate versus the alumina in the sinter. So if the alumina in the sinter goes up, then the carbon rate is increasing. So you know that carbon rate is the energy, and again it's a cost. So even if I talk about the sinter strength, which is very, very important for our blast furnace process, so if the alumina goes up, then the tumbler index is also coming down. So these are the downside of these using the allowing the high gang to the next level, specifically alumina. So impact on the pelletizing process. So if you see in the case of pelletizing process, if there is more goethite is there in the process, so you know that goethite contains a lot of there is a LOI is there. So you know that because of the LOI is there, so in the process you need to remove that first, and for that you need energy, and also the process needs to be slowed down. So as a result, so there is an impact in both in the productivity and as well as the heat import. So again here how the different gangs or the different type of gangs is impacting the downstream process is an example of that. Now I'm coming to the coke slide. So that is slide number 12. So you know that if the hot metal cost, and if you see the hot metal cost, this is specifically for the typical for example Tata Steel. If you take an examples, so here as I said that all our iron ore is coming from our captive iron mines. So you know that coke cost is the major impact, is the major cost for our hot metal productions. So you know 50% of the total hot metal cost is basically because of coke. So now you can imagine that what is the importance of the coke and its ingredients for the process. Now, so here, that means our entire effort is basically to how to optimize the coke means in terms of the consumption of the metallurgical coal, so that we can get an advantage in terms of cost. So there are several levers are there, so which we generally exercise. The one is the blend design, so that is a unique thing is there. It is company to company, it varies, but you know that our motto is to absorb the some non-cooking coal carbon rate consumptions. And there are several efforts are there from the Tata Steel as well, so to for the syngas from the coal. So you know that from the underground coal gasification, so we have a lot of study we are doing. So basically to deep-seated coal seams in Jharia, where the normal mining is will not be very feasible, and as you go down, so the quality of the coal is also coming down. So then this is an alternate method of mining, and as well as using the energy. So these are a lot of work is going on in this side as well, and also we are working on the CO2 sequestrations, which is again basically for that. Yes, which is there. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to the enhance beneficent efficiency. So you know that so our main objective is to how to improve the efficiency of the process. So you know that so our objective is to basically to get a higher yield at the same mass. So this is a journey which is there. So I will not be explaining details on that. Now again, there are a lot of technologies Tata Steel is actually adopting to go to that level, and I think so. Mr. Godichand also has explained that how Tata Steel has gone to from the current flow sheet to the three product, and you know it's a basically intermediate size beneficent process. All are to basically to improve the efficiency of the process. Now I will come to the coke making things. So you know that the coke making, so different type of the coke ovens are there. So in Tata Steel, so there are you know we have heat recovery and we have byproduct recovery ovens, and all are stamp charged now. So now we know that there are a lot of advantages are there from the stamp charge to the top charge. So the mainly advantage of the stamp charging is basically the lowering the cost and the better quality and the higher yield. Now, if you come to the table below, so you know that if you see the table below, so you know that Tata Steel also had the top charge and then gradually shifted to stamp charge. And the reason behind here is that you can see that hard coking coal consumption, which used to be 80 to 85%, has come down to 20 to 30%. Like that, we will be able to, we could able to inject more medium coking coal and semi-soft coking coal in the blend, and as a result, we got a without impacting the coke quality, we could able to reduce the blend cost. So here also example comparative tables of the different stamp charging versus versus top charging, and as I explained, so every unit, so we are getting got a very good benefit in terms of the various parameters which used to be monitored for good coke. Now here is an impact of the coke on the different carbon rate and also the productivity. So as I said that GCQI is the global coke quality index. It's developed by Tata Steel here, and you know, and in this case, so as I increase the figure of the GCQI, so the carbon rate drops. So the figure as here we mentioned is the typical figures are there, and similarly you can see that productivity also has changed. So that's all from my side. Now I'll be requesting Prasenjit to explain steel making. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Should I present?
Yeah, you can start your presentation.
Is my screen visible?
No, your screen is not visible.
Still not visible, right?
No, it's
No.
not visible.
Otherwise, Prasenjit, Diva also can share your.
Yeah,
Your...
it will be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Device is present, I can explain.
Yeah, yeah. So you can share the slide.
Diva, there is PK Tripathi slides you can present.
Okay.
For some presenting PK Tripathi slides.
Okay, sir, sure. This one is. Is it visible to everyone?
Not yet.
Is it now visible?
Not yet.
Have you clicked on the present now button because this is unable? Yeah.
Divya, maybe you can share
it visible now?
presentation. No, nothing is visible.
No, to me, it's not visible yet.
Not
It's not
visible.
visible.
There is a technical issue, Divya, you can ask Mr. Yadav to start your presentation, then Prasanjit, you start preparing for that. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
R.K. Yadav can come in.
Yes.
He can start the presentation.
Okay.
On Talcher Fertilizer Limited. R.K. Yadav.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Rakesh Kumar Yadav, we can have your presentation right now. Mr. Rakesh Kumar Yadav is a DGM Projects Talcher Fertilizer Limited, and he will be presenting on coal to chemicals, fertilizers, etc., technology, projects, and investment. Mr. Rakesh Kumar Yadav. Yeah. Is he present now?
Mr. Yadav, you have left.
I think he has left.
Oh, he's there. Yadav is there.
No, sir, he's not here. Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute. No, he's not present.
Yadav, can you start?
Sir, he is not present right now, I think.
He's there, I can see. He's there, right there.
No, sir.
Mr. Yadav.
Yeah.
वही है रुको रुको आ रहा है
Yeah.
there.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Oh, your voice is not coming. You are muted, I think. Something. Please check your microphone.
He is actually on mute.
Looks like.
Yadav sir is on mute.
No, now he's on. Earlier he was. Yeah. Mr. Yadav, please start. Please start. आपकी आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रही? No, you're not able at all. No, अपना म्यूट लगा के रखा आपने, करिए उसको. Shown unmuted, but आवाज नहीं आ रहा तुम्हारे को. No, it's red, yeah. I can see you're muted. I can see. You're muted. Yeah. And now you're unmuted. Yeah, now you start.
Sir, he has left the meeting. We can have PK Tripaঠি's presentation.
Yeah, you can get percentage.
Let me try again.
Yes, sir. I am here.
You start. You start. Yeah.
Divya, if you can kindly present the slide.
I'm trying. Is it visible now?
No, not yet. It's coming.
It's coming now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good afternoon all. Myself Prasenjit, and I will be presenting on behalf of Mr. PK Tripathi on steel making part for Tata Steel Jamshedpur. Next slide, please. Yeah, the basic outline of my presentation will be on the conventional routes for making steel, which is one is BOF versus EAF. Second, the Tata Steel Jamshedpur steel making facilities. Third, the primary steel making, that is hot metal deseparation, basic oxygen furnace, online purging, followed by secondary steel making like ladle furnace, RS degasser, Kasobi, and the last, the clean steel making and the various challenges for the critical steel making aspect. Next slide, please. So the first most conventional route for steel making is the BOF steel making, that is basic oxygen furnace steel making. So if you look the process flow, first in this process, the hot metal comes from the blast furnace to the LD stove. In the LD stove, first we are desulfurizing the hot metal, followed by steel making, removing carbon, oxygen, manganese, silicon, phos in the BOF. If we look at a photo of the BOF, there is an oxygen lens from the top. So basically what it does, the input hot metal chemistry, check the chemistry of the hot metal, the carbon is as high as 4 to 5%, while the silicon is near about 0.5, 0.6%, and the high phos level. So the customer demand is always for a lower phos, lower silicon, lower carbon level. So we need to remove these impurities, phos, silicon, carbon, by blowing oxygen in the steel, in the hot metal. So whenever we first blow the oxygen, so silicon gas oxidates and it gets removed, similarly followed by phos and carbon in the form of P2O5 and CO2. So right after the primary steel making, it goes to the secondary steel making. If you look at the second image, it is a secondary steel making. Basically, it does the refining process in the secondary steel making. What is defining? Basically, there is a lot of inclusions are there. We need to remove those inclusions. So I need to define the steel means I need to purge. So refining process, and also some addition of critical alloying elements, and also inclusion modification. All we does in the secondary steel making. In the third, after the secondary steel making, it goes for casting. It is a continuous caster, and from the casting, the product can be either slab or thin slab for a flat slab caster, flat product, and it can be bloom or billets for a long product. Next slide, please. Yeah, the other route for the steel making is the EAF process. Here, the raw material for the EAF is measure the scrap. Scrap controls more about nearly 70 to 80% of the raw material, and the remaining covers is by DRI or by hot metal. So it is a different process. Right now, in Tata Steel Jamshedpur, we are not having this process of making steel. We are following the BOF route for making steel, and also in this process, the quality of the scrap also depends on the final product, because the scrap might have a lot of harmful elements. So depending on the final product, the decision to use what type of scrap, it depends on the product mix. Next slide. So if you look at the Tata Steel in India, there are total 3 plants: Tata Steel Jamshedpur, Tata Steel Kalinganagar, and Tata Steel Bhushan BSL, which we acquired recently. But my presentation will be mostly on the Tata Steel Jamshedpur facilities. So if you look at the slide, the first, we are having 3 steel plants. First is LD1, second LD2 slab caster, and the third is LD3. LD1 is a long product. LD2 and LD3, these are flat product. That I explained. Flat product means it produces slabs, and a long product means it produces blades. The total capacity of the total three plants is 10 million ton. So next slide. So what is the steel making? So first we need to check what is the primary steel making. Basically, this process is almost equal for all the steel making plants. Initially, the hot metal comes. As I told, the sulfur level is quite high. So if my sulfur is high, this is not acceptable for the customers, specifically for the auto customers. If you look at the auto parts like the wheel rim, car body, very low sulfur is required, because there is a lot of deformation, and high sulfur can lead to cracking. So sulfur removal is one of the major important steps. So first we does the hot metal desulfurization in the steel. So what it does, we add calcium carbide and manganese to form calcium sulfide to remove the sulfur in the form of calcium sulfide and magnesium sulfide. By this, we are removing the first level of impurities. Now the second level of impurities are the carbon, silicon, and phos. To remove this, we need an oxidizing atmosphere, for which we are taking this metal to BOF, that I explained in the earlier slides, basic oxygen furnace. Basically, we are injecting oxygen, we are blowing a oxygen in by lens. If you can see in the image, there's a lens from the top side, and oxygen reacts with the carbon, phos, and silicon to form the oxides and CO gas, and we remove the impurities. Once we remove the oxygen, once we remove the impurities like carbon, the carbon levels comes from 4% to as low as 400 ppm, 0.04%. Similarly, phos comes to near about 0.02 or 0.018%. So once the blowing over, we tap the steel and add ferroalloys. Ferroalloy, why we add? Because a lot of customers demands their grade should be high strength or low strength. So based on the customer requirement, we add this ferroalloys like manganese metal or high carbon manganese or medium carbon. Also, we add coke like CPC, GPC for making high carbon steel as per our customer requirement. And the alloying, that is the deoxidation part, it also demands as per customer. If it is aluminum steel, will be deoxidation steel wholly with aluminum. If it is a silicon steel, like in the previous slide, it was discussing electrical steel. In the future, electrical steel will dominate the market. So electrical steel demands silicon killed. So depending on the customer grade requirement, we are killing the steel. Once after BOF, it goes to the online purging station. Basically, what we do in the online purging station, once you add the ferroalloy, it needs some time to mix, and also that there's a temperature inhomogeneity. So we need to homogenize the steel, for which we pass an inert gas, that is argon. We pass argon for the mixing so that my ferroalloy goes well and mix well into the steel. Next slide, please. So as I explained, first is the primary steel making, and now comes the secondary. Secondary is the refining stage. Means what are the major ferroalloy I will add, but if there is some additional requirement as for customer, we will refine the steel. For example, the first refining stage, one of the refining stages is RH sir. So everybody knows we are using in auto body, like car body, car hood, all the auto bodies, the carbon demand is very low. It is in the level of 20 ppm or 15 ppm. So initially hot metal is 4,000 ppm, then 400. Now customer requires minimum 20 ppm, such a lower level of carbon. So to achieve that lower level of carbon for the auto customers, for all the car bodies or two-wheeler customers, we need to process the heat in a vacuum degassing agents, like a RH, where we achieve vacuum from atmospheric pressure to as low as 1 millibar, so that there is a reaction takes place where carbon will react to oxygen to form CO. So in this way, we remove the carbon as for the ultra low level carbon as per the customer requirement for the auto customers. Measure all the auto customers demands this such level of lower carbon in the ultra low carbon ppm level. Now coming to the next stage of secondary refining, this is the ladle furnace. So if you can see this ladle furnace, basically we are doing two things. First, there are 3 electrodes. Basically, we want to raise temperature for addition of some ferroalloy elements which requires much higher temperature to dilute. So we will be arcing and raising the temperature for the proper alloying of those ferroalloys like titanium, niobium, chromium, moly as per customer requirement. Second, inclusion flotation. In the bottom there is argon purging. So we need to float the inclusion up in the steel so that the steel is free from those impurities and it will not have any harmful defect at the customer says. Third, slag making. Slag making, because all of you know that steel making is nothing but slag making. We need to make the slag such a content good that all the impurities that are floating above, the slag can absorb those inclusion. This is called clean steel making. In this way, we are making the clean steel. Last, calcium treatment. This is also doing as per a customer demand. We are modifying the inclusion by adding calcium at the end of the treatment. So basically, depending on the customer requirement, we are selecting the processing route. And the last is CASOB, this compositional adjustment submerged oxygen blowing. In the earlier process, like ladle furnace, as I explained, we are arcing, we are using electrode to arc to raise temperature. But in this process, we will not arc. What we do, generally we add aluminum and also blow oxygen. So aluminum reacts with oxygen to form alumina, which is an exothermic reaction, and it increases the temperature. So basically, why there is a electricity consumption is not when we require very low electricity consumption. So this method can be used as an alternative method to raise temperature. And similarly to LF, there is an argon purging to float the inclusions out. So these are the 3 refining stages. There are also many stages, but currently in Tata Steel Jamshedpur or Tata Steel process, these are the major refining stages that we follow to refine the steel. Next slide, please. Now, as I told, clean steel making with the coming years and more customer, the most demand from the customer, majority of the auto customers, the steel should be as clean as possible, because any slight impurities can lead to severe accident or severe effect and the downstream, and the whole lot will be rejected. For example, as I told, there's a wheel rim in the car, and if there is sulfur during car driving, there might be crack, and then it can lead to an accident. So this is not acceptable from our point of view. So customer demand for clean steel making is increasing day by day. So what are the clean steel approaches that we are following in the Tata Steel? One is desulfurization. As I told, the first level of removing sulfur is the hot metal desulfurization that we are doing by adding calcium carbide and magnesium, that I explained also in the earlier slide. Next, during the tapping, when we are pouring the steel, there is a chances the slag might go. So this slag is not good because this has high oxygen potential of FeO, which is not good. So to avoid that, using slag going into steel, we are using dart or infrared camera, which will detect and cut the steel. That steel will come, slag will not come. Also, in steel making, we are using some scrap. So clean scrap we are using. Clean scrap means those scrap. Generally, we are using our internal scrap, which has very low sulfur content. Coming to the secondary steel making process, like ladle furnace, we are using effective slag refining process to capture the inclusions which will not act as a harmful agent during the rolling or at the customer agent. Similarly, we are also floating the inclusions via ripple purging. This is argon purging, and also we are adding calcium, which is also helping in the inclusion modification. In the RS degazer also, we are trying to make the steel and also float the inclusions so that my steel will be clean steel. In the caster, it is the final stage casting. So a lot of importance has to be given in the casting. So we are using vertical caster. We are also using shrouding so that no air ingress takes place, and basic flux. This is a process which we are maintaining in the caster for a clean steel making. Can you move to the next slide? Now this is the last slide. This is the future challenges. So if you can see, this is a blue color. This is the conventional steels like ultra low carbon steel, IF steel, HSLA, high strength, low alloy steel. These are conventional steels. But with the coming years, customer is demanding more steels which are having high strength but low weight. If we see the automobile, our cars weight are coming down, but strength is increasing for safety point of view. So the demand for steel with a higher strength is increasing, and also as in previous slides are told, by 2030 or 2035 electrical car will come. So electrical demand for electrical steel is also rising day by day. So for steel making point, making high strength steel with a lower alloy or high strength steel and electrical steel, such challenges without any defect at the customer stage is a challenging for work to us, and also we are in the developing stage for those high strength steels as is explained in the graphs. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Divya, get RK Yadav back, please.
Sure, sir. Thank you, Prashanjit, for your nice presentation. Can we have RK Yadav, sir?
Yeah. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Should I present?
Yeah. You can share my presentation.
Sure, sir, sure. Was it visible?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Divya. Myself, Rakesh Kumar Yadav. I am a DGM Talcher Fertilizer Limited. Talcher Fertilizer Limited is a joint venture of GAIL, RCF, Coal India, and FCIL. And Government of India has given mandate to set up a coal-based fertilizer plant at Talcher district, Angul in Odisha. And I am from GAIL India Limited on deputation to Talcher Fertilizer Limited. Can you go on the next slide? As my topic is coal to chemicals and fertilizer, so basically in India there are two types of main use of coal is either direct burning of coal, that is majority of power generation in India, as Sajdev sir already elaborated in detail the data, and we are generating power through coal. And other option, we can go to coal to chemicals achieved through gasification. Next slide, please. So what is gasification? Actually, there are three types of technology for gasification. First one is fixed bed. It operates in the range of 425 to 650 degrees Celsius with a particle size of 6 to 50 mm. But due to operation at low temperature and low pressure, it produces various byproducts. And though it can handle the high ash content also. In India, the Jindal plant is based on this technology, which is from air leakage. Second one is fluidized bed. It operates with a range of 900 to 1100 degrees Celsius, particle size 6 to 10 mm, and coal conversion is better than this one fixed bed. However, it cannot handle the high ash content, and licensors are SES, Winkler, Ute Gas, etc. Third one, which is we can say best one, and nowadays this one based on this technology, various plants are coming. This is in trend bed. This type, this gasifier operates in the range of 1250 to 1600 Celsius, and particle size is less than 100 micron. And conversion is best. Coal conversion is greater than 99%. And licensor are mainly Shell, which has been taken over by AP, E-Gas, Mitsubishi, Siemens, ConocoPhillips. Even Reliance plant is based on the ConocoPhillips technology, which is not coal gasification, it's a pet coke gasification, but it's the gasification. So what happens, here is the gasifier, it is shown in the presentation. So this coal pet coke, this in our technology means it can handle pure coal also, and blend of coal and pet coke. Blend of pet coke is required to reduce the ash content within a certain limit. Then coal preparation unit, after it is fed to the reactor, a gasifier, which operates with the input of oxygen and steam as a dilution agent at 16 degrees Celsius. So from here, this section, which is licensed by air product, we generate raw syngas, and subsequently purification and other units will be there, which will be I discuss in a subsequent slide. Next slide, please. So why gasification for India? Strategic benefits: utilization of vast reserve of high ash, as it was mentioned in previous presentation that India has more than 300 billion coal reserve, and second largest in the world, and proven one is around 150 billion. So coal in a sector other than conventional power production. As India aim for 100 this one, a sector other than conventional power, more environment friendly than directed, because the CO2 normally which is generated, we capture part of the CO2 in our process, like in fertilizer we make urea. So it is more environment friendly, and yet in fulfillment of commitments made under COP21. The gasification project shall dependent on indigenous coal, so there is a huge foreign exchange saving, because we have our own coal, and if we can convert into the chemicals, so we can save all our, because 85% our hydrocarbon we are importing from other countries. Opening of new route for making fertilizers and other chemicals. So next slide. Challenges to gasification in India. Talcher project, I will, it is a case study. Next. So actually this gasification in India is being talked since 2002, and I think our most senior participants will be knowing that India was having in 1982 gasification, one at Ramagundam and one at Talcher. So due to, though it operated up almost 20 to 30 years, but due to various reasons, it cannot sustain. So because of the, it was not because of the technology, it was because of the other various reasons, power and all. So non-availability of proven record. So in 2012, ultimately 2011, when Government of India CCA approved the revival of 5 fertilizer plant, so out of which 4 are being based on the NG, and this Talcher was decided based on the coal. So 2012-13 EOI was floated for the selection of the licensor. Because of the high ash content, it was not succeeded. So first challenge was this, and other was ensuring supply of uninterrupted or consistent quality of coal, which is the problem which is being faced by the Jindal. So next slide, please. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir, I have changed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So ultimately, a third attempt, what we did, we have put the option of mixing of coal and pet coke, because worldwide gasifiers are running between, means maximum they are handling up to 33-34% of the ash, and majority of gasifier running less than the 25% ash content. So in our case, in Talcher region, normally coal is in the range of ash having 40-45% ash content. So we have to reduce either by washing of coal or by mixing pet coke. So washing of coal we have tried, it was also part of the UI, but doing that we were generating a lot of rejects, and for using that rejects, a very big power plant was required. So it was felt that we should go ahead with the pet coke blending. So by blending we have kept in the option up to blending of 25%. We will reduce it up to 32%, based on which the plants are running in China. 4 to 5 plants are running in China, operating in China, based on the shell technology. So by doing this, risk of high ash was reduced. And for ensuring supply of uninterrupted consistent quality of coal, TFL has been allotted a captive mine north of Arkapal, for which we are in the process of making DFR. Next slide. Technology shortlisting process. Next, please. So as previously I have discussed, as you have decided to blend high ash coal with pet coke, the technology selection commenced in 2016. So we kept two options. Once run of mine coal having coal 40-47% ash. This was the condition of the EOI. And option 2 was the 40-47% ash up to blend with pet coke. So this offer was floated, and I think 4 to 5 licensors qualified. But proven track record was only Shell was having in China, which were operating within the blend of coal and pet coke in the range of 30-35%. Even Shell has given confidence that they can operate up to the 45% also, as having 47% in fact. And gasifier is designed based on run of mine coal having ash content of 43.5%. And so there will be two cases. We can run, depending upon the economics, run of mine coal if it gets success. Otherwise, blending option is available. We will reduce up to 32%. Next slide. Why air products? Why we selected? Next, please. So Air Products is the world premier gasification company with a leading technology position. More than 50 years of commercialization in China, and operated on intrant flow capable of handling coal, pet coke, mix of coal and pet coke. And there are 4 to 5 gasifier which is running on the blend, and I think 15 gasifier which is running on pure coal, because in China there are good coal also, there are having coal having higher ash content also. More than 200 types of coal handled by AP technology. Pet coke building gives good operational performance and reliability, 200 to 300 days continuous runs, and greater than 96% availability of the gasifier. Next, please. So this more than 22 licensed projects and 24 gasifier in operation of this technology, 17 gasifier with 200 ton, which is in the range of our capacity. Several AP sites are operating on high ash coal from 6 to 37%. So in our case, after blending, it will be in the range of 30 to 33%. 4 AP plants in China have operational experience on pet coke blends, as earlier I have described, for ammonia production. Next, please. So flexibility of coal gasification process. Technology has flexibility to increase. We have fixed up to 25%, depending upon the economics and ease of operation. We can reduce up to during operation, because in India there is no plant available based on this technology. So once we will start operation, then we can change the percentage. We can increase the coal and decrease the pet coke depending upon our economics and ease of operation. Talcher plant cell normally operate a blend of 75 to coal and 25%. Pet coke addition to be guided by operational ease and plant economics. Plant equipment designed for 100% float. Basically, gasification section is designed so that it can take care the ash coal having 40 to 43, 47%. So in case of pet coke, our gasifier will run around 70. If we will go for blending case, gasifier will run at the rate of around 70% capacity. And each gasifier has a capacity of plant load around 70 to 75 for continuous ammonia urea production. So in next please. Next slide, please. Operational reliability. Overall plant reliability of various plants is 96.3%. Actually, this technology, this carbon conversion efficiency is more than 99%. Coal gas efficiency is 78%, and total thermal efficiency is around 92%. And reliability is, this is the data from AP, is 96.3%. 4 projects successfully used pet coke blended with coal, with one plant reaching 320 days at full operational load, continuous. 11 plants clocked more than 300 accumulative running days, the longest ones for 346 days. Thermal efficiency 95.9 and 99% conversion. Donging, this plant is located in China. JV achieved 100 million safety man hours. These all are based on the air production. Next, please. This is the recently commissioned plant based on the airport technology, Luan joint venture in this investment of around 1.3 billion, and this produces around 720 kNm cube per hour syngas. This is based on the air product technology. Next. So what there were various, there was since it was coming after a long back, and even higher authorities were not convinced. So we have to kept option for, earlier we were going for 2+1, one standby option. So later on it was decided, as this gasifier is designed based on the 43.5% ash, and after blending it is coming down to 32%. So one gasifier in the blend case can produce around 50% more gas than the design. So it was thought at a time when if one gasifier got tripped or under shutdown, so one gasifier can take load of the ammonia urea plant, because ammonia urea plant economics works once it runs around 340 days in a year at 100% load. So this risk was mitigated by increasing the capacity only gasification section. Other purification section, it is based on the design of ammonia urea. Provision to operate gasifier on pure coal, pet coke mixing increase gasifier efficiency by approximately 33%. High ash content of coal, we can optimize the pet coke blend ratio. Commissioning and pre-commissioning kept in LSTK contractor, because our main contractor, this for coal gasification and for ammonia urea, this is one engineering which is from the China, and they have executed various projects in China. So we have kept commissioning and pre-commissioning in their scope. 6 month operational assistant was also under their scope, and extensive training for our engineers and operators from their plant. Next, please. TFL project. So these are the few days. Earlier, FCIL, there was a plant in 1980, stopped production in 1919, then MOCF closed all the operation. In 2002, Cabinet District took decision in 2008, and subsequently in formation of JV in 2011, and Talcher company formed in 2015. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Oh, no. Can you go back? Back. This is next slide. Yeah, next please. So this is for process flow diagram. Feed preparation unit, then gasification. So in case of blend case, where pet coke will be mixing, our coal requirement will be 2.5 million ton per annum. And in case we go for pure coal, only ROM coal, then it will be in the range of 3.5 million. And part of will be for gasification and part will be for the steam generation unit. Then ASU is there. Then up to gas cleaning, we will generate N2 plus 3S2, and this capacity is around 2,43,000 to produce 2,200 ton ammonia and 3,850 urea, which is the standard size which plant are coming. And one of the byproduct is sulfur, which is around 800 ton per day. Next. We have achieved these activities, major activities till date. Environment clearance already granted. MOU signed with IOCL for Paradeep plant for supply of pet coke. Mine allotment done. Inauguration of work ceremony done by Honorable Prime Minister of India, 22nd September. Investment approval accorded by TFL board, and Messrs. Vahan has been awarded both major LSTK contract on September 2019. Next, please. Major approvals like consent to establish, consent to construct water allocation in place. Pre-project activities already almost completed. Site grading, construction power almost completed. Project activities commenced. Tendering for offsite and utility package are under. We have awarded few, and some steam generation and all tender already floated. Captive mine DFR is being prepared by CMPDI, and we have already committed. We have already awarded the contract of around rupees 84. It's not billion. 84 billion. Yeah, 8400 crore. 84 billion already made. Next, please. So some already in India, few activities are, next slide please, for coal to chemicals. Coal gasification as one of the key sectors for ensuring self-reliance in energy identified. Honorable Prime Minister has already set the target to gasify 100 million ton of coal by 2030. Implementation of Talcher project is a step in this direction. Success of this, I think, in my opinion, success of Talcher project will attract private investment and as well as investment from this FDI also. EOI called, these activities are already in place, called by NTPC for setting up CO2 capture, hydrogen generation and conversion to methanol. Coal to methanol project is being attempted by Coal India. Government of India has given mandate to all subsidiaries of Coal India Limited, 5, and they are in the process of preparation of DFR for coal to methanol. At Raniganj plant already they have, I think, prepared. Coal gasification is being extensively used by Messrs. Jindal at its Angul facility for production of DRI. Their plant is already sometimes on, sometimes off due to economics, because of the coal availability. And recently, Reliance Industries has successfully commissioned pet coke gasification plant at Jamnagar, equivalent to 20 mm CMD gas. And their technology is ConcoFlix is the licensor, which is in Trent bed. Next, please. So we can produce any chemicals from coal, means by gasification, and this we can produce methanol to olefins to petrochemical. Means China is producing around 50% of fertilizer and more than 60 to 70% of methanol from coal route. So fertilizer can be produced. Once we produce methanol, then acetic acid, then ethanol, petrochemicals, even diesel and gasoline. This deallocation of their mine, otherwise their Jindal was earlier they were in the process of putting coal to liquid also. So I think Talcher's success will open the area of this all products, I think, and this will save, in my opinion, since we are having a coal reserves, indigenous coal, and we can utilize it. Next, please. So some enablers from Government of India is also required because it's coming first time. Next. India can take clue from progress made by China in this more than 200 gasifier in operation. And since, see, gas price keeps on fluctuating, means sometimes it is low, sometimes it's, but coal price all means, if we can see the trend of last. Okay, sir. Okay.
It's quick.
So China is world leader in coal gasification, 200 gasifier already, means if we can count one plant equal to urea plant, it is around 2.5 MMCMD of gas. So we can produce syngas also, diesel, petrol, and being done in South Africa and China through gasification. Next, please. So accordingly, India should aim to follow the model adopted by China and South Africa for coal gas. Success of TFL projects shall create competency and confidence in the country for coal gasification. Next, please. Key enablers. So coal gasification needs support from Government of India so that the sector finds its footing in the country. Gasification is in early stage, so the sector needs enablers to create conducive environment, and this shows the concern of investor and will show the commitment of government towards coal gasification sector. Next, please. So some of the enablers means implementation of cluster model. I think Government of India has already created. Ease in land acquisition, suitable relaxation in captive mining, modalities, expeditious and single window clearance, policy support for proliferation of coal gasification sectors, and various tax breaks and waivers of various duties and levies, especially in initial stages. I think that's all on my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Divya, now we have actually we request the participants, if they have any questions, they can send it to email to us. We'll get them answered by the experts and send them reply back.
Okay.
Late ho raha na.
So we'll not have question and answer round here. We all can send their questions to the concerned person, and they will answer through email or through direct contact. Now I would like to invite Mr. Agis Sachdev, President CPSI, for closing remarks and vote of thanks. Sachdev, sir.
Thank you, Divya. And now we have coming to close of this today's webinar, which was jointly organized by Mongolian Coal Association and Coal Processing Society of India. We had really excellent presentations from Mongolian experts as well as from Indian experts. We practically covered all the aspects, right from coal resources to coal chemicals to final products. And there are many areas which have emerged during presentations where both the industries in Mongolia as well as in India can cooperate, collaborate, and come to some mutually beneficial advantageous projects can be taken up, starting from import of coking coal from Mongolia and even learning from each other's experience on coal gasification, coal to fertilizer, coal to liquids. We are going ahead with quite a few projects which you heard various speakers telling. The steel making is our forte. We are the second or third largest steel producer in the world. In coal production is also, we have a lot of technical strength on that. I'll not dwell much on that. Let me start with thanking Mr. Ankeborg, and through him, thanking His Excellency Ganbol, the Ambassador of Mongolia and India, for having taken the trouble to spend whole time throughout this webinar here during the presentations. Our best wishes to our Mongolian presenters. They took a lot of pains in preparing for their presentations and really made very pointed viewpoints where things can be learned from each other. Mongolia, India, now collaborations are showing up. As Mr. Ankovold mentioned, that, Minister Pradhan has already spoken about it. Private companies like JSPL, JSW are all taking initiative, and we hope that either towards the end of this year or maybe early next year, some flow of coal, coking coal will come from Mongolia to India. And it was mentioned earlier by Mr. Parthi that we have, as the COVID situation improves, maybe a physical meeting towards the end of this year. And we would invite all our Mongolian friends so that we can have again another seminar or conference depending on availability of time and how the weather is there on either side. I will not take long now. Just I would like to conclude by thanking all the presenters, Mongolian Embassy in New Delhi and Mongolian Coal Association, all the experts from our side, and our special thanks to the attendees. And our apologies that we could not give them time for ask questions. But I again repeat what Divya said. You can send your questions to CPSI by email. We assure you that within a very short span, we will send you the answers back. Furthermore, that we have this recording of this presentation we'll put on YouTube, and it will be available to you also if you want on email. You can replay it and go through the presentations. We'll try to publish all the PowerPoints and with some more detailed information in the next issue of Coal Professional Society magazine, which is coming out in April. So we'll try to cover things and encompass everything so that we don't miss whatever we have discussed today. And that I request if Mr. Ankovold has few words to mention before we conclude finally. Over to you, Mr. Ankovold.
Sachdevaji, thank you very much for your kind word. And we realize that thanks to these presentations, we realize that there are, am I audible?
Yes, yeah, you are audible. Yes.
I find that there are great deal of work yet to be done in order to move the exportation of coking coal to India, and it's very informative, and moreover it's technical session. Frankly speaking, I was practical diplomat helpless, but we will continue to exert our efforts. And as I said earlier, within this month, we are also trying to arrange second batch of our sample shipment and continue our discussions again in the near future. Thank you very much for your presentation and your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ankovold. Thank you very much. Mr. Parthi, you want to conclude with a sentence? Parthi?
He has left, sir.
He has left, okay. So thank you very much. And once again, bye-bye to everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Which are there, please let us know. We will have the answers sent back to you from these experts. And as I mentioned, the presentation will be available to you. And I hope you will not miss anything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Sachdev. And some questions are written in the chat group, so please look at that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all participants.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Namaste.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Divya. You've done a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Divya, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all
одоо чухал семинар боллоо.
Хоёлоо тусдаа дахиад холбогдчихоо. Энийг хаацаад
Тэгээ.
тэгөө. Тэгээ одоохондоо нэг явуулъя. За. Divya, thank you. We close the.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
And
you report.
Questions we have in the question answer section, so we can have the reference for our future.
Yeah, video you have recorded on your computer?
Yeah, I have recorded all the visuals and I will try to send it today only.
Okay, thank you. Please send.
Okay.
And exchange the presentations, okay? I will also send you a list of participants. If you have same also do, please.
I have all the presentations from Indian side, so I can share that with you. You please share your Mongolian presentations.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.